Making a nylon stocking takes only a few minutes. However, it's a complex operation that involves the knitting of 5 to 8 threads as fine as a hair. The threads, usually nylon and spandex, strong and elastic, are used. Sometimes polyester or cotton are added. The knitting machine goes into action. This one fashions a tube for sheer stockings in 90 seconds. In 3 minutes, it makes a tube for tights. Its speed is adjusted according to the product being made, varying between 750 and 1200 revolutions per minute. Once the tube is knitted, it is sucked up and lands in a bag where it will be inspected. More than 500 machines share the work, each making a model that is specific for it. The two ends must now be joined. This automated machine assembles the two tubes together to form the pantyhose. Then a scissors cut the pantyhose, a necessary step in production of a pair. This opening is enlarged to allow for sewing, which will join the two tubes at the point of the panty. The label with the size or brand name is already sewn in place in just 10 seconds by this robotic machine. At this pace, it sews on 4,800 labels in 8 hours. Installing a gusset requires some preparation. A scissors makes a hole at the joining point. Then the stocking is turned inside out by suction so that certain stitching can be done on the inside. Thus, these stitches will be less visible. Now the foot must be sewn. This robotic machine places the foot in position. Then a sewing machine makes stitches at the same time that it cuts away excess material. This step requires only 10 seconds. Then the pantyhose is turned right side out, again using suction. Everything is ready for installation of the gusset. The pantyhose is placed in a tub and taken to this department. The stocking is again suctioned and placed on a gusset machine by the operator. This method assures that the gusset will be installed well-centered without a pleat. Putting in the gusset is the final operation in the process. A pre-cut piece of cotton is slid into the space reserved for the gusset and automatically sewn in. Only aesthetic touches remain, such as adding a little color to the pantyhose. They're placed in this machine, which has a large drum with 4 compartments and a 45-kilo capacity. The pantyhose are washed in soapy water, then immersed in dye. Temperature climbs gradually to 93 degrees centigrade. After a 5-minute rinsing cycle, a softener is added. This all takes 2.5 hours. Once dried, they proceed to inspection. The pantyhose is placed onto a form which stretches it to allow inspecting for any imperfection. If all is well, the pantyhose is transferred onto another metal form where it will be pressed. The pantyhose is positioned, guided by a magic eye. The pantyhose is then carried toward a steam room, remaining there for 2.5 seconds before being dried in 7.5 seconds at 140 degrees. They fold and pack 420 pantyhose per hour and make 180,000 pairs per day. Used tires are a real source of pollution. This pile represents about 100,000 of them. At any rate, these tires will have a second life. They'll be recycled to make rubber mats. Each day in this factory, they recycle 15,000 tires into mats. Tires have to be reduced to little granules, but first, this conveyor feeds the tires into the washer. Tires are washed with a water-based biodegradable preparation. Then they're sent to the shredder. The shredder has 2 rows of large teeth. These grind up the tires into pieces. This shredder is able to cut up almost 1,000 tires an hour. They come out as fairly good-sized pieces of tires, which are then shredded a second time. Metal is magnetically separated from the rubber, and the metal pieces are recycled at another factory. Other components of the tires, such as fiberglass and nylon, also have to be separated. They use a sifter to get out unwanted rubbish. Recuperated rubber particles purged of foreign materials measure about 2.5 millimeters. Some 16 tons of tire particles are piled up in this recycling depot. But the particles are still too large to be used. They're sent to a secondary shredder's supply tank where they'll be reduced even further. This tractor feeds the secondary shredder. Grinding action produces a kind of rubber powder. The powder is spread out on these enormous molds. This mold has a length of 7 meters and a width of 1.2 meters. Thickness varies according to the product being made. The molds filled with rubber powder are stored in this loading magazine of the press. Once full, the molds are sent to the rubber mat press. Here's the mat press. The powder has to be cooked at a very high temperature for about 30 minutes. Cooking time depends on the product being made. The cooked mat goes through the unmolding unit before being sent off to cool. The rubber mats are still extremely hot. They're cooled with jets of water for a period of several minutes. The cooled mats can now be sent to the next department. This conveyor in the cutting center positions the mat before it's cut. The mat is vibrated to eliminate any surplus water. Each rubber mat is now cut up into 3 pieces. The cut mats are then stacked into a pile and stored before being shipped. The company also makes mud guards. These are fabricated the same way as the preceding mats. After having been cooled in water, but while they're still warm, they remove the surplus rubber. This operation is called notching. Hard rubber rings are also produced at this facility with the same fabrication methods and, as always, from old, used tires. Over a 12-hour period, this facility makes no less than 12,000 rubber mats from old recycled tires. This translates into good news for our environment.